All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Jared Barnes Show. I'm your host, Jared Barnes. Today is Wednesday, March 10th, 2021. I cannot believe that we're already on our second week in March in 2021. It literally feels like this year just started. I got big things coming. I'm excited. But for today's episode, I want to talk about, you know, the NFL franchise tag. The deadline was yesterday at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. People confuse that. It's actually Eastern Daylight Time, not Eastern Standard Time. And I don't think a lot of people know that. Quit calling it Standard Time. It's Daylight Time. Get used to it. But we're going to talk about the NFL franchise tag. Who got tagged? Who didn't get tagged? Who's going to hit free agency? The massive amount of cap casualties, stuff like that. Dak Prescott's new deal, other NFL news, and I got my first ever edition of Ask Jared, which is where listeners of the show and people that follow the show and follow me on social media can ask me questions, and it'll be a segment on Instagram, on my socials. It'll also be a segment on the podcast and on the YouTube. So it's a good place where I can interact with you guys. And then I'm also going to give an update on what I've been up to, why I failed to stay consistent, and some content ideas that I have for the future. I like to be upfront with you guys on what I'm doing and why I think I want to do what I want to do. And I like to get some feedback from you, and that's why I'm very open about it, even though I think I could do much better. Anyways, let's just get into it. So, as I'm recording this, it is Tuesday. The deadline for the NFL teams to use their franchise tag was at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. 9 teams used their franchise tag, which is, I feel like, the same amount of teams that really use it every year. So it's not a huge deal. But I'm going to go through the list of players that were tagged, maybe why they were tagged. Interesting to see some of the names that are on this list, but they all make sense in my opinion. So the first one I want to talk about is Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a guy that I was expecting to hit the market. Chris Godwin was not a guy I thought the Buccaneers were going to pay that much money to, not because he's that good a wide receiver, but because of the veterans that are in the NFL that would come down to Tampa Bay and play for cheap just to play with Tom Brady and possibly get a ring. Now, while Chris Godwin is an absolute stud of an athlete at wide receiver, I didn't expect them to be willing to pay that much money because I don't know if they're going to be able to retain him long term, especially with the contract that Mike Evans has, but possibly with the cap going up next year even. We could see them retain Chris Godwin. This would be great for the Buccaneers, great for the organization, but I'm disappointed that he didn't hit the open market. Now, the next player up is Jets safety Marcus May. This was a thing that needed to be done for the Jets. They don't have a lot of great pieces, and Marcus is one of those great pieces, in my opinion. Yeah, there was times last year where he struggled and he got picked on, but that's also because that defense and that team was so bad. So bad. But they still couldn't somehow tank to get the first overall pick. That's a different story. They were so bad. Marcus is a huge, I think, cog in that defense, and he's going to be a big deal for Robert Saleh to work with. So Saleh wanted him. I'm excited to see what Saleh does with him because I think he fits Saleh's system very well. He's very talented safety, and it's going to be intriguing to see what he does. Now, the next guy that got franchise tagged is a guy that I was also hoping would hit the market, mainly because I know he doesn't want to be at the organization he's at, and that's Allen Robinson got tagged by the Bears. I would say he's upset about it. I would say so. He wanted out. He doesn't want to be in Chicago. It's clear. He liked a Twitter post today, tweet. I don't know why I said Twitter post. He liked a tweet today that said, congratulations to, I don't know the exact tweet, so I'm just going to paraphrase it here. Congrats to Kenny Golladay, the biggest winner of the day, #freedom. Like he is being held captive by his organization. You could take that as a shot at Detroit, or you could take that as a kind of subtle jab at how Allen Robinson is just trapped by the Bears. It's for the Bears, it's the best possible move for them. Regardless of what they do with Allen Robinson, regardless, it was the best move for the Bears. Because if you can't keep him, then you lose him in free agency, and you get nothing for him. If you can move him this year, now you have him on the franchise tag. He's going to have to sign it to do anything. So for him to be moved, he's going to have to sign it. You're going to be able to get something from him. Bada bing, bada boom. You win this one, even though you lose an possibly all-pro talented wide receiver, a guy that is an absolute stud in the league and has never had a solid quarterback throwing him the football. And he's considered top 7 on most people's lists. And I would say that's slightly underrated, but it's tough to rank him any higher because he's never had that consistently good quarterback play. So it was the best move by the Bears, even though AR definitely hates the move. You got to respect what the Bears are doing because you got to look at it from a GM side. You got to look at it from an owner side. You can't let a player like that walk. But there are some teams that don't have a choice this year. They have to let players like that walk. Pittsburgh is the best example. Bud Dupree and Juju Smith-Schuster, I would say 2 of their biggest contributors from last season. No matter what you want to say about Juju, I think Juju is the best wide receiver in this free agency class. I think he is the most slept on. He's like one of the youngest receivers to be in free agency this year. He's only like 23, 24 years old. This is going to be his first contract. He's going to get a 4-year deal. By the time that runs out, he's going to be 28 years old. He's going to still be in his prime. Juju's set up for multiple paydays if he wants them. Juju also does so much. He does so much in the run game. He does so much in the pass game. And if he's not a solid, I don't think he's a solid number 1 in the league. But if he plays the second fiddle to somebody else that's great, oh man, he's going to go off. He did that with AB, like his second year in the league. He also showed flashes in his first year in the league that he could be that kind of guy. And he could definitely be one of those guys on the team. But 15 mil, which is kind of the money wide receivers get paid in the league, is quite a bit for a guy like Juju. But I would spend that. But the Steelers can't. They're strapped. But they also couldn't use a franchise tag because they're strapped for cash, which is a shame because they're going to let 2 players walk like that. When other teams have the privilege to do it, they just did to Allen Robinson and trap him in a place that he doesn't want to really be. Anyway, then, back to players that were franchise tagged. Broncos are up next. They franchise tagged Justin Simmons, safety. He is one of the top safeties in the league. And this was a move that had to be done by the Broncos. They were led by a defensive head coach. You don't want to let one of your top defensive players walk if you're a defensive head coach. There's just no way you'd want that to happen. So I was happy to see Justin Simmons. He's going to get his money. I think him and Denver are going to work out a long-term deal, and I would love to see it because he is one of my favorite safeties in the entire league. He's an absolute dog when he plays, and he just stalks the ball in coverage. He's very, very good at that, which was exciting. Now, the next move was kind of surprising because this was a team that I wasn't expecting to franchise tag anybody because I didn't think they had the money to do so, and that is the New Orleans Saints. They franchise tagged Marcus Williams. He's also the safety that's known for missing the tackle on the Minneapolis Miracle. Not that matters right now, but that's kind of what he's most well known for. He was also a meme because of it, and I feel bad for the guy because that was also, I believe, his rookie year in the league. Marcus Williams is an excellent safety. The Saints could not lose a guy like this, but the fact that they franchise tagged him, they're going to pay him top dollar for his position, is a move that shocked me because they also were a team that was kind of strapped for cash coming into this. And you see some teams like Pittsburgh, for example, like I mentioned earlier, can't franchise tag either one of the players they would like to bring back. But you see the Saints, who are in cap casualty hell, franchise tag Marcus Williams. Just makes you wonder, with a good GM and a very good head coach, how some teams, a salary cap means nothing and they can just manipulate it all they want, which I think what the Saints are probably going to end up doing. And the Saints are going to probably end up being under the cap somehow. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but they're going to do it. The next team, and it's just kind of a run through of a couple fantastic offensive linemen that if you lose them, it hurts your line and it's tough to replace them. But if you franchise tag them, you're overpaying them, some of them. This guy is not one of those ones. The Washington football team franchise tagged Brandon Scherff. He is not one of those guys that if you franchise tag him, you're going to overpay him. Brandon Scherff is one of the top guards in football. Brandon Scherff is a guy that will just mob anybody. And he is going to be a big part of the Washington football team offense because that's a team that has a lot of young pieces. That is a team that needs veteran leadership. Even though they just cut Alex Smith, they're going to need a veteran in the locker room, and that's going to be Brandon Scherff. And he's really not even that old. But Brandon Scherff's also a dog. Brandon Scherff is a guy you want on your offensive line. he's one of my top three guards in football. I love Brandon Scherf, and I think he's going to contribute heavily to Antonio Gibson, the running back for the Washington football team. This is a move that he is clapping his hands about. He is excited about because this is a guy that if he loses, it hurts him as well. So that he's happy right now. And the Washington football team did exactly what they had to do. And the next one is Cam Robinson of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's their left tackle. He just also got franchise tag. This is a guy that, yeah, $13-14 million for him. Maybe that's a little bit overpaying, but guess what? You have the potential to draft Trevor Lawrence. Do you want to give him an offensive line similar to what Joe Burrow had this year and end up in that situation? Absolutely not. You'll franchise tag Cam Robinson to keep him around just so that you don't kill your new quarterback when he gets here because nobody's going to be able to block for him. I like this move by the Jags. I think it was smart, and it was something they had to do. The Panthers franchise tag Tyler Martin. I hope I said his name right. I've never even heard of the guy, so I don't really have a whole lot to say about him. And then the Giants franchise tag defensive lineman Leonard Williams. This is a guy that's a former first-round pick, kind of fizzled out in his original tenure with the Jets. Ended up the Giants, had a solid year last year. The Giants had to keep this guy around. It was just something that they were going to have to do. And so I respect the move, although hopefully now that he was in a contract year last year and he kind of got some money this year, hopefully it doesn't go back to what he was with the Jets, but that would really stink for the Giants. But oh well, if it does, because the Giants are, I think, just an average organization of football. But the Giants are one of those organizations though that like there's a couple. If they start winning games, they're like, oh, I mean, they're the Giants. Like I feel like Pittsburgh is one of those organizations where you're like, I mean, the Steelers, they're automatically a Super Bowl contender. If the Giants start winning games, you automatically think, oh, they're probably a Super Bowl contender. There's a couple of organizations like that in football. New England, Pittsburgh, the Giants. Who else? There was a couple on my mind, and they just immediately left. So, but because of the cap issues, which there was quite a bit of them, a lot of teams have a lot of cap problems. There's going to be a plethora of people hit the market that we normally would not see hit the market. Specifically, I think on the offensive line, but there is a massive amount of talent at all the skill positions, all of them. And there's a couple that are even getting slept on that I think could be super key contributors elsewhere on their new teams. Like Corey Davis is getting no love, but last year for the Titans, he became a legit number 2. And he really played well down the stretch for them, which was important because he hasn't done much in his tenure there. He was originally like a top 10 draft pick in a draft class that included some great names at wide receiver, which all completely just left me. But he was in a very good wide receiver draft class. He was the first one taken off the board. And then everybody else behind him pretty much was better than him through their first 2, 3, 4 years in the league. So it was kind of cool to see him go down the stretch heading into the offseason, heading into free agency and saying, hey, I can be that guy for your team if you just give me the chance. So it's going to be exciting to see what he does. But I'm just going to run through notable players that were possibly going to get tagged today that did not. And you got 3 running backs just right off the bat. Aaron Jones, who is the top tier free agent running back right now. I think everybody should be going after Aaron Jones if you have the money to do so, because he is a legit star. Sometimes I think that he struggles to actually run the football because he isn't as big. He doesn't have a lot of weight. He's not a true runner, in my opinion, but he is one of the better pass catchers in the NFL. Is he worth Christian McCaffrey money? No. Is someone going to have to pay him Christian McCaffrey money to get him? Maybe. I could see him getting $10 or $11 million a year, maybe 12, and the Packers can't do that, so he's gone. Kenyon Drake, he's something else because last year for the Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury's first year when they traded for him, he lit the world on fire when he got to Arizona. This year, injuries kind of slowed him down. Chase Edmonds they started splitting carries, stuff like that. It kind of hurt Kenyon Drake a little bit, but I don't think it's going to hurt him that much in free agency. I still expect him to get some money. Is he going to get absolutely broken off? No, but hey, a couple million is a couple million. And then Chris Carson, who I don't like all that much, but that could also just because I hate the Seattle Seahawks, openly hate the Seattle Seahawks as a football team. Um, Kind of as an organ, I wouldn't say I'm not going to say as an organization, but as a football team on a whole, I just kind of hate the Seattle Seahawks. So that kind of maybe why I don't really feel that. But I don't think Chris Carson's an absolute stud of a running back. Like he's one of those running backs that regardless of where you put him, you would get very similar amount of production from possibly another mid-tier running back. He's just mid-tier in my opinion. There's only a couple running backs in the league that are top tier legit guys. You can only get that production from maybe them in that situation, like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry. Those are like my top tier guys. And yeah, I don't consider Zeke a top tier guy at this point anymore, but he's very close. Like he would succeed heavily everywhere else he would be in the league. So, but he's just not a top tier guy in my opinion. But the top three running backs right there, Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, and Chris Carson, that's a good running back class. But again, running backs don't get the money that sometimes they deserve. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in free agency. But the wide receiver market, I already mentioned Corey Davis is there. Kenny Golladay is going to hit the market, and he is going to get broken off. Juju's going to hit the market more than likely. I don't see Pittsburgh getting a deal done within the next coming days. Will Fuller is going to hit the market. If he can be healthy, he's a fantastic number 2 wide receiver. He could possibly be a number 1 because when he was being fed the ball by Deshaun at times, he was great. Now, a couple tight ends, Jonnu Smith from the Titans, it looks like he's going to hit the market. He's very, very good. And Hunter Henry, that's the guy you want on your football team. He is, I've already said he's probably he is a top 5 tight end in the league right now because you got Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller, Hunter Henry. I mean, that's my top 4 tight ends in the league right now. And it's a shame that the Chargers aren't going to really be able to franchise tag him, probably retain him, anything like that. But, man, the market for him is going to be pretty big in my opinion. Then you got a couple amazing names at offensive line. Trent Williams didn't get tagged today of the San Francisco 49ers. There's going to be a lot of teams in for him. Joe Tooney from the Patriots, he didn't get tagged. He's a guard. There should be a heavy market for him. And Corey Linsley of the Packers also didn't get tagged. Packers got some work to do, and they got to try to bring Linsley back if it's the last thing they do as an organization, because that is a move right there that you lose him. He is the centerpiece of the offensive line, literally, because he's the center. But if you lose him, that offensive line, it's just not going to be what it was last year, clearly. You're not going to find a replacement anywhere near at the level that Corey Linsley is. I think I don't know if he was an all-pro last year, but Corey Linsley is an amazing center. He's going to get broken off by somebody, I hope, but it's going to be tough for the Packers to sit and lose Aaron Jones and Corey Linsley and still be a dominant offense next year. But they still have Aaron Rodgers, so it doesn't matter. They still have Devontae Adams, so it doesn't matter. Now, for the defensive players that are about to be free agents, you got Shaquille Barrett. There's no way the Bucs are going to be able to retain him because they just franchise tagged Chris Godwin. They just extended Levante David. Shaq Barrett's probably on the way out. Maybe they bring in Kyle Van Noy for cheap to replace him, even though a lot of people say Kyle Van Noy probably going to return to New England. We'll see. I don't think so. But maybe he wants to. He already got paid, so maybe he'll go back to the Patriot way, which was what really made him good and got him paid in the first place. Then you got Matt Judon. He is an amazing outside linebacker, but the guy that everybody should be going after is Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree should be the top defensive player sought after in free agency this offseason because I don't see anybody else on his level at all. Like, anywhere near close to his level. Just from a pass rusher standpoint, he can drop back in coverage. Like, I talked about it already. Pittsburgh, it's a sad thing because I'm a Steelers fan. It's a sad thing that they were not able to retain him. It is tough to sit and swallow that pill. There's no way they're going to be able to get a long-term deal done, in my opinion, with him because next year you're going to have to pay T.J. Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick. And those are guys you have to keep on your defense. Devin Bush soon after that. Like, those are three guys that you have to have. Like, you can't invest like $30 million at your outside linebacker position and say, here's Bud, here's TJ. That's the entire team. Like, that's the entire defense. Like, you can't just have outside pass rushers that can drop back in coverage and then have absolute nothing at corner and safety and expect to be a good football team. So I understand the move, but Bud Dupree should be heavily sought after. I'd love to see him in Indianapolis. I think that'd be a perfect fit for him because he's a dynamic passer, and they need a guy. Another guy's Leonard Floyd. He's not as good as Bud Dupree. He has potential, and he's very good. The Rams are not going to be able to bring him back, so that's a shame. But it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. Hassan Reddick from the Cardinals. He didn't get tagged. He's a guy that's heading to free agency now. Carl Lawson, Yannick Ngakoue, corner Will Jackson, corner Shaquille Griffin from Seattle, and safety John Johnson. I can't read my handwriting. John Johnson from the Rams. He's also going to be a free agent. They got a couple of young guys to replace him. They also still have Ramsey at corner, so it doesn't matter. But those are just some heavy-hitting names that are going to be hitting the free agency market. Free agency is about to become a wild time. It's going to be fun to watch because there is a lot of guys. Oh, sorry about the yawn there. I'm tired today. Was not feeling great this morning when I woke up. But I'm feeling a lot better now. That's clearly why I'm recording. But ignore the voice crack there. Also, my throat is bothering me. So, like, I can't reach a lot of certain pitches and stuff. So that's a problem. But either way, I'm enjoying doing this episode right now. So we're going to move on to the next topic. Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott, 2 days ago, finally got paid. He finally got broken off. He finally got the contract he deserved. And I'm so happy for him. He signed a 4-year, $160 million contract. Dak, his agent, his family, they bet on themselves. They gambled hard. And they waited for the market to reset from the Mahomes and Deshaun Watson extensions. And they stayed their ground. They stayed firm. They said, no, we're not going to take that 5-year deal. We want the 4-year deal. And they stayed their ground, and I respect it. Now, the story of his Dak and his contract had been the most overrated story in football. It was at times the most annoying story in football because it was like there's so many other things going on. Can we stop talking about a team that's going to go 8-8 and their quarterback? That's kind of how I felt for a long time. I respected Dak, but I was like, let's be honest. Jerry doesn't want to win anyways. Jerry just wants to do decent so that people in the offseason talk about how his team can make that next move to get to the next level and then never actually do it. And then for 2 years, we just had to hear about Dak's contract issue. Then Dak gets injured. Things happen with Dak's life. He's been through a lot over those 2 years. So it's good to see him come out on the other side of all of it with this massive contract that he just got, $66 million signing bonus, the highest signing bonus in NFL history. That is like so much money he's just going to get up right up front. I'm so excited for him. And he absolutely deserves this. He's worked hard. Situations have never been like, it's always been awkward situations that he comes in like, because every time he becomes a starter, he has to replace somebody that just got injured. And it's like, how does that keep happening to this guy? But he never fails to disappoint. And he's already proven that he can be a top quarterback in this league. I'd say he's top 7, top 8 quarterback in the league. I love Dak. I respect Dak as a person too, because, I'm somebody that, kind of goes through mental health issues every now and then. And that's partly why I am not consistent with my content. Like, because I get hot and bothered by something. And I'm like, oh, I feel down. Like, I feel, yeah. And sometimes, I do feel depressed. And depression is a real thing that people deal with. Like, and I don't think enough people really understand and take it seriously enough, but it's a terrible thing. And, Dak received a lot of hate over the last couple of years. And, he got blasted by some people when he came out at the beginning of last season and said he had to receive help. He went and got help from therapists and stuff like that after his brother committed suicide. And that move right there maybe respect Dak a lot, because that's a tough thing to do. I just remember how many people were down on him, was like that's a weak thing to do. Like, how is it a weak thing to do? I feel like that takes a lot of mental strength to realize, hey, there's something just up here that isn't right in my head. I need someone to listen. I need help. And I mean, as much as he went through, as seriously as he takes mental health, like he's a legit leader. Like, he's someone that I look to because I struggle. And I respect him for coming out and being very open about it. Other athletes have done the same thing in recent years as well. And I don't feel like they got hate like Dak got. But that's also because Dak is a quarterback for the richest organization in all of sports, who is a lot of the times just an average organization. Like, not an average organization, but just an average team on the field. And that kind of stinks. But like, a lot of people have said that now Dak has to go win a Super Bowl or else he's a bust and this contract was a failure. And the Cowboys would have made the wrong move if they don't win a Super Bowl with Dak. They didn't. The Cowboys made the wrong move by not paying him 2 years ago. The Cowboys made the wrong move by not giving him the contract that he deserved 2 years ago. The Cowboys put themselves in a bad spot 2 years ago by not paying him and letting the story eat itself alive until the point where Dak had all the leverage, 100% of leverage. They screwed themselves over to the point where Dak had 100% of everything, and it was all in his hands. And if he wanted to come back to Dallas, it was his choice. And if he didn't want to come back to Dallas, he was going to get paid by somebody else. And he would have gotten that much money or more from somebody else. So I'm just so happy for Dak, because he got the contract he deserves. And regardless of whether the Cowboys actually win a Super Bowl or not, I'm just happy for him as a player, because I enjoy watching him play football. I respect him as a leader off the field. He's not a guy that gets in trouble. He's a guy that young kids should look up to. Dak is one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He's the most, I think, scrutinized player for things that are out of his control of maybe everybody else in the NFL. And I feel for him at times. But also remember, he's a professional athlete. He gets paid millions of dollars. He can deal with it. But I respect him a lot because for the things he's done on and off the field over the last couple of years, there's a small place in my heart for Dak Prescott that I just love and respect him a lot. I don't know, like, when a flip changed in my mind to actually love Dak Prescott, but I just absolutely enjoy watching him play football, and I love him. So I'm just super excited for him. I'm glad he got paid. And I can't wait for him to receive a second contract, whether that be from Dallas or somebody else, because he's going to deserve it too, because he's going to prove the haters wrong. And if he wins a Super Bowl in Dallas, that'd be a great day for him. Like, that'd be a glorious day to just shove it right back in the hater's face. But he's a humble guy. He's not going to do that. And that's just Dak Prescott. So I'm excited for Dak. But there's other things in the NFL going on right now. For those interested, another offensive lineman who's going to probably be in the free agent market now, former Bears offensive lineman Kyle Long. He is coming out of retirement. He's 32 years old. I don't see him returning to the Bears, but I think there will be a decent market for him, along with other O linemen that have gotten cut because of them being cap casualties or not. I think there's going to be quite a bit of movement on the offensive line. There's going to be some teams that look completely different from where they looked last year, and you see that every year. But I think it's going to be more teams than normal this year because of just the cap and stuff like that. It is intriguing. But the NFL offseason is wild. Cap casualties are happening galore across the league. Kickers and punters are taking it on the chin this week. Over the last week or so, I've seen quite a bit of punters, especially ones that I've looked at like that I really like Thomas Morstead. He just got the can down in New Orleans, and that's a shame because he's a great punter. He's a good guy. He's a great guy for the organization, but he was getting paid more than they would have liked, and he's gone. Dan Bailey just got cut from the Vikings after figuring things back out in Minnesota. A lot of people kind of making jokes and memes about it on the internet, but I feel bad for Dan Bailey because kickers and punters are taking it because I think teams are undervaluing them completely. They're saying, oh, this guy's getting paid this much money, but we can find somebody that can do it for veteran minimum, if not like rookie men. Oh, we'll do that then. I'm like, oh. Yeah, but then you're going to get things like the Kansas City Chiefs punter this year in the Super Bowl who chokes on a punt completely in a big-time situation when you needed field position to be flipped and he failed to do so. I think you're going to see a lot of that this year in the upcoming NFL year because teams are not going to be paying their punters and kickers. So you're going to see these vets possibly maybe that are very good without jobs because the teams are paying guys that are much, much cheaper. And you're going to see a lot of problems with special teams, I think. But the NFL offseason is wild. And cap casualties are happening galore this year. They're happening. It's crazy. But, I'm excited to see how free agency plays out when it starts next week. It's going to be pretty cool to see. And I'm excited about it. Don't know how I did it, but as I was going through in the editing process, I was like, hold on, I'm missing something. I didn't do Ask Jared. And that's a shame, but I'll do it now. Okay, sorry about the mess up. I'm going to try to edit it to where it makes kind of sense, but hopefully it does. If it doesn't, I'll just thanks for the explanation. Thanks for the issues. Here we are though. The first edition of Ask Jared is here. This is where you can ask me questions of anything you really want to ask to get to know me or sports opinions you want to hear. So I got all of the questions I got today are sports questions, which are great, but I enjoy that there's sports questions because this is a sports show and I want it to be a sports show. But I would love for there to be super interesting questions that aren't related to sports as well, because I feel like it would be an interesting way for me to connect with you guys and really connect with you guys. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But here we go. So the first question I got from I'm Kanye's brother on Instagram. Shout out to you, my guy. You are a super supportive dude. I've been there since very early on when I was still BB Sports Media. So I appreciate you. He asked me, Aaron Jones staying or leaving? ? Well, yesterday was the franchise tag deadline, and you gave this question to me 2 weeks ago, and a week ago, and I didn't do an episode then. And I apologize that this is a late answer, and you kind of already got your answer. But, I think the writing was on the wall for Aaron Jones not to return for the 2021 NFL season. You see them draft A.J. Dillon in the second round. And you don't draft a guy in the second round just to, pay the guy that was already there top dollar when it's time for him to, maybe move on or sign a new contract or whatever. I don't think you do that if that was your plan all along, was to sign Aaron Jones. Now, is it a massive loss for the Packers? Absolutely. A.J. Dillon is not Aaron Jones, but A.J. Dillon I think he's a better runner of the football than Aaron Jones. He's more physical. He's a brutal runner. He's a bigger running back. But is he the pass catcher that Aaron Jones is? I don't know. But can they re-sign Jamal Williams to be a pass catcher? I think so. And I think the complement of Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon is going to be more than enough to replace Aaron Jones. I think A.J. Dillon is a talented running back that is going to really shine through next year for the Packers. The more intriguing question, though, now is not Aaron Jones staying or leaving. And I know you asked this question a week ago, and that's probably why you asked it this way. But where will Aaron Jones go now? That's the thing that I'm going to find interesting because I have no clue where. he might end up. Absolutely no idea. And I have no guesses. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. Now, the next question is from @HipHopBrackets. Shout out to you guys for following me. You guys are great. You guys are just absolutely talented. And I appreciate you. And this is an intriguing question right here because I don't do a lot of basketball talk. And I feel bad that I don't. But I don't follow the NBA like I wish I would have done so this season. And that's a shame. That's on me. But I just don't have the time to watch a lot of basketball and a lot of sports. Like, I haven't watched really any college basketball this season at all. I've watched 2 full games, and they're both West Virginia games. And I like that WVU team, but that WVU team is a team that has a chance to make a run, but probably not going to actually happen. So you asked me, are the Phoenix Suns title contenders? And like I said, I have not gotten to watch as much basketball this year as I normally would have liked. But I could see them making a run at the Western Conference Finals. I think there's only 2 to 3 teams that are maybe 3, 1, 2, maybe 4 teams that are legit title contenders this year, and only 2 really that I can see winning it. And I'm just like everybody else. I think Brooklyn Nets and the LA Lakers are the 2 teams that could legit win it all. And like, that's kind of why the NBA this year is boring to me, because it's like, we know the Nets are going to be in the finals. Like, I feel like you can lock it in at this point. Like, now they have Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris. Like, they're a stacked team. They're stacked. So, I don't know what that noise was. I hope you didn't hear it, but that freaked me out. But yeah, I think you could see the Suns in the Western Conference Finals, and if they get there, who knows what happens after that? So maybe, but it's a possibility that they could be title contenders this year. I think DeAndre Ayton has really come around, and I think the leadership of Chris Paul plays a significant role in their title contention hopes. And the next 2 questions are from the same kid, Kyle. Shout out to you. At Kai.le2744 on Instagram. Shout out to you. You brought me 2 questions, and the first one is, where will Cam Newton go? Will he stay with New England? And I would love to see Cam back in New England, especially if they're actually trying to have a decent O-line for him. Now, sadly, I don't see it happening. It sounds like their big plan is to have Jimmy G be their starting quarterback. Not that there's a problem with that, but Jimmy G has clear ties to New England. Bill Belichick wanted Jimmy G over Tom Brady anyways, so it would make a lot of sense. But if Cam ends up hitting the free agent market and San Francisco gives up on Jimmy G, I think Cam Newton in San Francisco would be intriguing, to say the least. Like, it would just be like a 4th runner, because at any point in that offense, they could literally just – and Kyle Juszczyk, who I believe is a free agent. Kyle Juszczyk is a guy that they could just hand it off to and he could run the football. Then you have Raheem Mostert in the backfield. You have Deebo Samuel at wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, who can also you could just hand the ball to him and let him run it. And then you would add Cam Newton into that mix. That'd be intriguing. Now, they don't run shotgun in that offense a whole lot. They're under center. It's a West Coast, a lot of motion. It'd be interesting to see how Cam played in that offense. But I think San Francisco would be an intriguing option for Cam Newton to end up possibly competing for a starting job in San Francisco if they move on from Jimmy G. That's if they move on from Jimmy G, and that's if the Patriots pursue Jimmy G. But I would love to see Cam back in New England, for sure. Now, the next question you asked me, Kyle, is what will the Bears do at the quarterback position? And that one, that's an intriguing question, because it does feel like it feels like maybe the biggest question mark of the offseason, because I think the Bears are going to go all in on Russell Wilson, or they're going to draft a guy. And I don't think they're going to do anything in between. I think Allen Robinson will play a huge, significant role in both of those situations, because I think AR would love playing with Russ. But if they don't get Russ, I don't think AR wants to deal with another rookie quarterback with that coaching staff and that organization at all. So I think he would have to be moved to help the Bears get a higher pick in the draft so that they could actually get a guy. Because AR doesn't want to be in Chicago. So I wouldn't be shocked if he forces his way out if they don't get Russ. I think he's going to force his way out either way. And I don't think they have a shot at getting Russ. They maybe do. But it's going to be interesting to say the least. I think they're going to draft a guy. I think you're going to see them actively trade up. I think you're going to see them move on from a couple guys in the trade, move from picks, and probably take when they trade up, they're probably going to take the worst possible quarterback that they can actually take and let two potential Hall of Famers on the board behind him. That's probably what they'll end up doing, but it's going to be intriguing to see what they do. And at the quarterback position, all right, those were some great questions that I had there. Those are 4 great questions from, for the first edition of Ask Jared. I'll be doing it next week as well. You can submit your questions by using hashtag the JB Show and tweeting at me on Twitter with the hashtag, or you could send me a DM on Instagram with a question you might have, or when I post a question sticker on Sundays and Mondays for my show, you can drop a question in there. It could be about legitimately anything. It could be about sports. It could be about movies. It could be about TV shows. It could be about just other random stuff that you want to hear from me. It could be just like top 5 things. Like it could be anything you want it to be. And there's a 95% chance if you give me a question, I'm going to feature it on the show. So feel free to give me a question so that you can make this show more fun for you to listen to and more fun for me to do. Not that I don't enjoy doing it, but like getting to connect with you guys and hear what you want me to talk about is always a fun thing for me. So I hope you enjoyed the first edition of Ask Jared. Now here is like some of my content updates. And again, I completely apologize that I literally forgot about it on the first recording. And then the second I was done recording, I looked over and was like, oh crap, I didn't do the questions. But that's also because I didn't put them in the regular stack of notes that I have, because I didn't want to just run across them and then like do a terrible transition into it, because transitioning, not my thing. But enjoy this update on my content and what I've been doing, where I've been for like 2 weeks. But enjoy. Now, it's been 2 weeks since my last episode. I said like a month or so ago that I plan on coming back strong, doing 1 episode a week, and I failed to do so. I also said in my first episode back that I was going to do a mock draft. That's not going to happen until April, but I am going to do one. And it might not necessarily be on this show, or I'm going to try to do it on this show, but there's a chance that it ends up being a dual mock draft with somebody else, or it's going to be my own mock draft. I'm not sure, but I'm going to do a mock draft by April, because I want free agency to kind of start so that I can see what teams would need to address in the draft without, I'd rather know what their plan is leaning towards heading into the draft, because in free agency I'll get to see who they're going to go after, who they're going to pursue, things like that. That's why I'm waiting a little bit. But over the last couple of weeks, I've been chilling. It was my birthday on March 1st. I wanted to do an episode that week. I had planned on doing an episode last week, and then I had an interview drop out. It was going to be an intriguing interview. I'm not going to say who it was, because I don't want to throw them under the bus for dropping out, because, things happen. You get busy. You forget. They didn't forget. They just got busy, lost track of time. The times then didn't line up, because I have a class on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So because things didn't line up, I was like, all right, we'll figure it out. But, I got some things planned over the next couple of weeks on my social media and my podcast that I think are going to be cool. Mainly on social media, that maybe it'll leak over to the podcast a little bit. Maybe it'll get more people listening and stuff like that. So I'm excited for it. Now, my plan over the next few months, I started this thing on my Instagram last week, and I haven't done any of it this week because I haven't been active on social media, because again, I can't describe the feeling of what I was kind of feeling this weekend. I woke up on Saturday and it was like my mind was not in like a normal place. I was in an odd spot, and to be completely honest with you, I was super unmotivated, and I was gonna go through and dig for some more facts, and then I just didn't. I literally just sat and stared at my ceiling for like an hour and a half and just thought and about nothing that mattered, and it was all pointless thoughts, and it kind of derailed me. Like I kind of got down a little bit. I wasn't feeling it, but I'm back, and I want to continue to do that daily sports trivia, but the way I was doing it kind of felt like a a way. It felt like a way to do it, to describe it to you, but I think I'd come up with a better way to do it and make it more interactive and try to make it to where it could be like somewhat of a contest. I want to do a rating system, a point system, reward system of some sort. Not sure how I'm going to do that at all, but because it's so easy to cheat on trivia when it's just over the phone and it's just a question thing on Instagram, because you could literally just Google it immediately upon watching my story. But we're going to see how it works out. So again, I said I'm going to do that. And then I want to do like brackets and polls, like so I would pull up somebody's rankings. Like my first one that I'm going to do, I'm going to already leak it now. It's best NFL uniforms, and it's not going to be my rankings at all. I'm ranking it. It's all 32 teams, and I'm ranking it by, according to NBC Sports, best NFL uniforms. So I'm going to go by their 32 rankings. They're not my own, and that'll start next Monday. I'm also going to start up sports trivia on my IG story next Monday as well, and there won't be any of it this week. I want to do one episode of the show per week. Like I've said before, I'm going to release it every Wednesday. I want to do one interview per week with a content creator and possibly other people in the sports world, possibly like coaches, athletes, news reporters, other people like that. I want to start doing more YouTube content, but that's going to be more towards the summer, where I possibly do live shows, maybe spur of the moment live shows where we just kind of hop on live and we talk sports, take questions from fans. I would legit leave my number in the comments and you could call and get yourself on the live show, which would be very, very cool. Just, keep it clean if I do that, but it's still a process. But that's some of the things that I want to do here over the next couple of months. I figured I'd get it out there to let you guys know, because you are the people that, are my real fans. You're the real listeners, the real people that I care about. So, I mean, not that I don't care about anything else, but like, you get what I'm saying. You're the real people that are going to make this thing grow. And that's why I appreciate the crap out of every single one of you. So thanks for listening to this episode. That's all I have for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you like this episode, share it with a friend, just spread it by word of mouth. Leave a rating if you haven't done so lately on Apple Podcasts, because it's going to help me grow. Once I get over a certain amount of ratings, Apple will maybe push my product a little bit. I'm not sure how any of that works, but I know that's how a podcast grows, is by ratings and stuff like that. But really, podcasts just grow by word of mouth. So if you enjoyed it, share it with somebody. Just tell them about it. Saying, hey, I think I found this sports podcast you might like. Check it out. And like that would help me a bunch, because it's going to help me achieve the goal one day where I could possibly do this as a job. And some of you are very supportive, and that's why I appreciate you guys so much. So if you enjoyed this episode, it's the Jared Barnes Show. Hope you have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.